Hello students, I hope you all have understood whatever we have discussed so far. So in the uh, previous class, I took class test of biology and most of the students have done well. And till now we have discussed about the means of spread of disease and organ and tissue specific manifestations. We have also discussed about the infectious and the non-infectious diseases, what is a health, what is a disease. Okay, so today we will discuss about principles of treatment, principles of prevention of diseases. And today we will finish the syllabus of biology, and after that we will do revision. So let us start our discussion. Now students, we all know about disease, we know the cause of disease, we know the symptoms. Now another thing is to how to get rid of the disease, how to treat the disease. So principles of treatment. When we get sick, there are certain steps taken by us to treat the ailment, okay? And they are primarily of two types, or there are two ways to treat the disease. First is to reduce the effect of disease, and second is to kill the cause of disease. Okay, I hope you have understood till here. Now reduce the effect of disease. What do you mean by to reduce the effect of disease? Here the treatment is provided that will reduce the symptoms which are usually due to inflammation. So when you catch any disease or you fall sick, you have certain symptoms, certain signs like fever, headache, pain. Okay, so here this treatment includes the methods that will reduce the effect of symptoms. Understood? Which are generally due to inflammation, like to take the medicines that bring down fever, reduce pain or lose motion. We can take bed rest so that we can conserve our energy, and this will enable us to have more of it available to focus on healing. Okay, because whatever happens in the body needs energy. But students, this type of treatment will not make the infecting microbe go away and the disease will not be cured. For some time till the effect of medicines is there, you will be relieved by the symptoms, but again you will develop the symptoms because the microorganism is still inside the body. Only method to get permanently rid of the particular disease is to kill the microbe. So second point is to kill the cause of disease. Kill the cause of disease. What is the cause of disease? The cause of the infectious disease is microorganisms. So how it is done? To use the medicines that kill microbes by blocking the pathway used for the synthesis of new substances which is peculiar to that group of microbe and is not shared by other group. What does it mean? Now you know what a microorganism that you have studied in class 8th. There are like bacteria is one group, virus is another group, then there are protozoas, fungus and algae. Okay, so there are different group of microorganisms. So each group has its own certain peculiar characteristics. Each group has its own life processes and each group has its own certain biochemical pathways or certain processes which help in the synthesis of new substances. Synthesis of new substances means to make new substances, and those substances are very much important for the microorganism of that particular group. Understood? So these life processes or these biochemical life processes is peculiar to that particular group and is not shared by other groups. Okay, now what happens when a medicine is taken okay, or those medicines are taken which block any one of the or which blocks the pathways, okay, which is used for the manufacture of new substances which are important for the or which is important for that particular group. So when the biochemical pathways are blocked, new substances will not be manufactured and that particular organism will die or will be killed. For example, let us take the case of bacteria. Suppose if bacteria has entered in the body and we suffer from any bacterial infection. So now in that case, antibiotics are generally given. So these antibiotics will block any one of the pathway. It's not any one, or I will rather say these antibiotics will block the pathway of important pathway of bacteria, and certain important life processes will not take place, or important substances will not be synthesized, due to which the bacteria will be killed and we will be cured by that particular disease. But now you just take note that our cells are not affected by the antibiotics because our cells have different pathways. Okay, the pathways or the important life processes of our cell that is not similar to that of bacteria. So these antibiotics will not affect our cells. Understood? Same case, these antibiotics will not be affected by any viral disease. Suppose if you have cold is caused by a virus. So if you will take antibiotics, then by taking antibiotics. Why? Because viruses have different life processes, different biochemical pathways from that of bacteria. So if you take antibiotics, it will not block the pathway of that virus and virus may not be killed. Understood? So generally in cough and cold, antibiotics are not taken. Antibiotics are given afterwards. Why antibiotics are given? Actually this cough, cold, it is a viral infection. So this infection is not cured by antibiotics. But later on, antibiotics may be given because in viral infection, sometimes the person develops bacterial infections also. So in that case, the antibiotics are given. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now, one reason, okay, why making antiviral medicines is harder. It is very much difficult to make an antiviral medicine because why? It is harder than comparative to bacterial medicines because viruses have very few biochemical mechanisms, very few biochemical pathways of their own. They enter our cell and use our machinery only for their life processes because they have very few biochemical pathways. Okay, this means that there are relatively few virus specific targets to aim at. Despite this limitation, there are now effective antiviral drugs. For example, the drugs that keep HIV infection under control. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now, next is principles of prevention of disease. Now, students, we know how to get rid of the disease, but still there are three limitations are generally faced. The three limitations are as follows. First, if someone had a disease that will completely damage his body functions to an extent that it can't be recovered. Second, a person suffering from some ailment might be bedridden for some time because it takes time to cure any disease. A person suffering from some disease might spread the infection to other people as well. So that is why we say that prevention is always better than cure. How can disease be prevented? There are two ways of preventing the particular disease. First are the general ways and the specific ways. What are the general ways? Hygienic conditions should be maintained in the surroundings we live in. There should be limited exposure to airborne microbes by providing not so crowded living conditions. Second, safe drinking water should be provided to prevent waterborne diseases. Third, provides a clean environment which prevents the breeding of mosquitoes. This prevents the spread of vector-borne diseases. Then there are specific ways. What are specific ways? The immune system normally fights off microbes. The cells of the immune system are specialized for killing infectious microbes. That is why we don't always fall sick in coming in contact with an infectious person. As soon as an antigen enters the body, these cells come into play. What does it mean? Now students, suppose in your class if anyone is suffering from cold, then what will happen? Some of the students may catch cold and some of the students may not catch cold. Why? Because what happens when any microbe, cold is caused by virus. So when that microorganism virus enters in the body, immediately your immune system becomes active, or the body, it produces certain cells and certain chemicals, you can say, called as antibodies, and these cells and antibodies reaches that place where the microbe is or where the virus causing cold is and kill that microbe, because virus is also a microbe. Understood? Now this virus is called as antigen, or any foreign body means the organism which enters from outside. So this virus is also called as an antigen. So when they enter in the body, immediately our immune system becomes active, or it responds, it produces cells or the antibodies which kills the particular microbe. Now antibodies are different for different antigens. Different antibodies are produced for different microorganisms. Not the same antibody is not produced. Okay. Now why some children or why some students they don't catch cold? Because the immune system of those students are strong, or it functions very nicely, it functions properly, it is not weak, or it is very strong, that the cells are produced and the antibodies are produced in response to the virus which enters the body. Virus of cold, here it's the virus of cold which enters in the body, and these cells and the antibodies kill whole of the microbe. When whole of the microbe or whatever microbe enters in the body is killed, then you will not suffer from any disease. But I hope it is clear to everyone nicely now. Okay. So now students, I will also like to give you one example here. That is before there was one disease, smallpox. I hope every one of you have heard about smallpox. Okay. But these days there is no reported case of smallpox, which is a highly infectious viral disease, anywhere around the world. But as recent as 100 years ago, smallpox epidemics were quite prevalent. However, it was identified that patients who had contracted smallpox once developed immunity to that disease for life. So, contracting a viral disease once means prevention from subsequent attacks of the same disease. Even in the chicken pox also, if a person suffers from chicken pox once, then again that person will not suffer from chicken pox, even if the virus enters in the body. Why? Because once when the virus or the microorganism for that particular disease enters in the body, okay, I am not saying for all the disease. For example, let us take the case of smallpox. So it is a viral disease. So when the virus of the smallpox entered in the disease, immediately the antibodies and the cells are produced which goes at that place and kill the smallpox virus, all of the smallpox virus, and that particular antibody for that virus causing smallpox is produced and is in the body. I told you in the beginning, a particular antibody is produced for a particular microorganism which is called as an antigen. So it remains in the body. So next time when again the virus enters, now these antibodies are already in the body, so they fight with great vigor and thereby killing the virus more quickly. So you again, a person who has suffered from the infection of smallpox does not suffer. Okay, so permanent immunity is caused at that place. Permanent immunity is developed. Okay, now what generally it is done, vaccination. What is vaccination? Vaccination, you I think all of you are aware of vaccination. Okay, what is vaccination? It is a biological preparation that resembles a disease causing microbe. The microbe injected into the body through vaccination is a dead or a weak microbe and hence does not affect the body. When the same microbe comes to affect the body next time, then the immune system recognizes it and fights back, thereby prevents us from getting sick. Understood? I told you when the antigen or the microorganism enters the body, the antibodies are produced and a specific antibody is produced for a specific microorganism. Okay, and it remembers that microorganism. Okay, so understood? So what happens in the vaccination? What they do, they try to fool the immune system. What they do, they inject. What is vaccine? It is a microorganism which is injected in the body. But which microorganism? A dead or the weak microorganism is injected in the body. Now when that microorganism is an antigen, now when that microorganism enters in the body, suddenly the immune system becomes active. Okay, and the antibodies and certain cells are produced. And I told you for that antigen a specific antibody is produced. So these antibodies are produced in the body. Okay, so when any time if a healthy or a live microorganism enters in the body, already the antibodies are produced in the body. So these antibodies fight with, and I told you the antibodies remember the microorganism. So when initially in the vaccination, when the dead or the weakened microorganism entered in the body, okay, the antibodies were produced and those antibodies now recognizes that particular antigen. So when the healthier microorganism enters in the body, those antibodies recognizes it and is already present in the body, so they fight with great vigor, thereby killing all the microbes or the microorganisms. Thereby we don't catch any disease. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now you can see here the picture also. This process has proved beneficial in preventing several infectious diseases and has decreased mortality rate to a great extent. What do you mean by mortality? Death rate. Okay, there are vaccines against tetanus, smallpox, measles, influenza. They are highly infectious disease and life-threatening diseases also. There are public health programs from childhood immunizations to prevent any infections throughout our life. For effective prevention of disease, everyone should practice public hygiene and immunizations. Okay, so with this, I finish the syllabus of biology and we will start revising and I will give you question and answers also. Thank you, students.